There's a music video that I'm doing for my new upcoming album. It calls Call Night Moon. I decided to make a free tutorials about everything that I'm doing for this project. I'll begin from basic stuff and finish with complicated series about making an alien and a UFO with all the rigs, materials and animations. Today, we're adding the moon. This is the effect we are creating today. And this is the original footage. We will make the texture for the moon, then build the moon and render the moon. Then we will track the footage and we'll apply the moon into the footage. We need the texture for the moon to apply this on the sphere later. I don't have one and I'm not getting to download one. I will show you how to make such texture using whatever you've got. You don't need much of details for the scene like this, because there's no way camera could actually focus on the moon. Also, the moon is very bright object. It will get the glare around it, so the details would be not possible to see. So I will start from the Venus texture I've got here. I will open it with GIMP, but any other program may do more or less the same effect. First, what I'm gonna do is to desaturate the texture. I'll press color, then desaturate. Then I'll play with the settings till I see something that I'd like to work with later. Next step, I will make it brighter. This is possible by playing with the settings of levels. I go to color, then levels. Again, I play with the settings until I see something good for me. Then I will create some dark areas. It can be done using selection tool. I'm selecting few parts, then blurring the selection. For this I go to selection and to the feather. I set the amount of the pixels to blur to each direction. Then I play with the levels again to make it darker. And the texture is done. I save the texture using Ctrl-E to export, because the simple save will make a GIMP file except for the picture that Blender can read. So press export and then save. Then let's open the Blender. First thing I'm gonna delete the cube by pressing X and add the new sphere. I do it by pressing Shift A and choosing the sphere out of the menu. Then I'm gonna go to the edit mode to unwrap the sphere that I could add a 2D image on it as a texture. I press tab to go to the edit mode. Here I must be sure that I'm looking exactly from the side and the perspective is off. I can do it by playing around with the numbers by the right side of the keyboard. Next is unwrapping the sphere. I press U and choose sphere projection or cylinder projection. Both are good in our case. Now, by looking at the UV image editor, we can see that the polygons of the sphere are unwrapped to the 2D surface. Time to open the texture that we just done. To see the texture on the sphere, we need to set up the materials with the texture. I press the button New in the material settings. It's under the red ball. I don't touch any shader because it's already alright. just we'll upload a picture to the color. It's possible by pressing a little dot near the color and choosing the image texture setting. The texture is open, so it's not needed to open again. You can choose loaded pictures by pressing on this little button. By pressing Alt Z, I'm turning on the textured view, so I can see the sphere with the textures. Another little thing, it's you may make the sphere a smooth shading, just to get smoother look. Let's render the moon. I'm using Cycles Render by default, and if you want to know how to make a default render engine, watch this video. First, I'm making the background completely black. From now it will not make any light around the sphere. Then I'm gonna use the default point light to light a sphere as it was a moon. I'm gonna enter the lamp settings and change the point light to sun. It will create a light not from the point but from infinite distance. You can rotate the sun by pressing R to change the angle of the light. By pressing Shift Z, I turn on the viewport rendering. It will show you in Blender about how it's gonna look in the final result. Okay, the sun is not bright enough. Let's increase the brightness. I press Use Nodes to enable the advanced settings of the sun lamp. Then I increase the strength setting. I play with this until I see the good result. I rotate the lamp a little bit to find the view I like. And don't forget to save the file.
When your rational thinking tells that the rules are not bad.
Now I'm gonna introduce you into the compositor, so you will feel a little more familiar with it while connecting the moon to the footage. First, let's render the moon. I will place the camera at a different angle, but you can probably render it with the angle you've got. Then I press F12 to render the current frame from the camera, and wait the render. Now let's go into the compositor. Turn on Use Nodes and Backdrop to see the changes. Every time you will click on the node holding Ctrl and Shift together, you will see the effect it does in the background through the viewer node. Let's make a simple glare effect, just to make the moon look closer to how camera can actually capture it. I press Shift A as in a 3D viewport, but this time I'm adding nodes. I go to Filter Nodes and choose Glare. I connect him in between the render and the composite. Again, I play with the settings to find the effect I like. I change streaks to fog glow, personally it works better for me. Then add the threshold to 0, and I click to the node by holding Ctrl and Shift to view the effect. Okay, pretty good. Let's connect this moon to the video. Picture in the footage is not stationary, it's moving. We need to be sure that the motion of the Blender camera matches the motion of the camera in the footage. Hopefully there is a feature in Blender that allows us to make so. It's tracking. For to make tracking, we need the movie clip editor. You can find the settings to open it by the bottom left side of every window in Blender. In the editor there is a big button Open. Obviously for to open the clip. Now we'll set the scene frames. It will make the render frames amount the same as amount of frames in the video. In this particular video the moon will appear just in the end, so I will decrease the beginning part. For those who want to make his own try, I will leave the full version of the shot in the end of this video. Now we're gonna add a tracker. It's a point that's gonna go the contrast areas of the footage, and from its motion Blender can calculate the motion of the camera. In normal setting we would need 8 trackers at least for to calculate the movement in 3D space. But hopefully the camera was on tripod, so we can track only with 2 trackers. Add tracker by clicking at the place where it's supposed to get by holding Ctrl. Then in the tracking setting you can find those buttons. The triangle ones are the directions to where to track. This time it's backwards.
I wanna make a fucking awake.
When the tracking is done, let's put another one and track him too. You can move trackers manually, rotate them and scale them using the same shortcuts in the 3D viewport, J, R and S. When the tracking is done, we need to tell Blender to solve it. In the normal settings we would need to give them the old information about the camera, focal length, zoom and many more. But hopefully we made the shot on tripod as I said, so the solve will be much easier for Blender. In the solve settings we need to enable tripod before starting to solve. You will ask why we need two trackers if we could do it just with one, simply because one tracker does not holding the information of rotation. In final solve can get the camera crazy. But two will make Blender to understand that the camera does not rotate. Now when the solve is done, let's make our 3D camera to move like our real life camera. First go back to 3D viewport, then select the camera and go to constraint settings. Add the camera solve constraint. Now play back the animation by pressing Alt A. The motion is perfect. If it's not perfect, try to play with the settings. Now let's load the video into the viewport so we could place our moon. It's possible to do in the settings by the right. Press N to open them. There is a setting called background image. Enable it and add image. Then change the image setting to movie clip, and here is it. The movie clip is automatically loaded. Now move the moon to where it must be by pressing G. If you will now render the picture, you will not see the video at the background. It's because we didn't finish the compositing. In the compositor there is an input and output. The composite output is the result that Blender will save as the render. Any other outputs, such as viewer, are not for this purpose. Anyway, inputs can be infinite amount. There is the render layers input, it's taking the picture from the cycles render, but we can add more inputs, for example the video file. As you can see, the file is bigger than the render currently rendered. So I'm gonna resize it to the normal size. The node for it is under distort, it's called scale. I'm gonna connect the video to this node and gonna change the setting to render size. Then let's get the video together with the moon. In normal setting you would probably use alpha over node, but in the moonlight it's just the light, so we can use add or screen setting of the mix node for this. I'm adding the mix node under the color and changing it to add. Then I connect the video after the scaling to this, and to the other input I connect the moon. Sorry, the moon after the glare. The add node supposed to be connected to the composite node, that its result will become the final result. Then I'll fix the focusing problem of the moon. I will add the blur setting and will set it to fast Gaussian. You can see at the video that the focus changes. It's going at the moon from the stuff at the background. Anyway, the camera is not focused at the moon, because it was impossible with the camera I had for the shot. So the focus is at the buildings. The moon is a little more blurry. I'm gonna increase the blur at the moon. I'm gonna press relative to be able to see the blur not by pixels but by percents, because I'm currently working with the 50% small image. I'm playing with blur until I see the good looking result. Then I'm gonna use keyframes to lock the blur at this current frame. For to do this, press I while holding the cursor on the top of the settings. I do it for both settings. Then I'm gonna make 2 more keyframes at different times, all with the different amounts of blue. The numbers between the keyframes will be automatically generated. When the job is finished, I made some render settings, making the render resolution at 100%, setting AV file format to have a video instead of pictures, and setting the render folder with the file name. Then I press animation and wait the render. The Cold Night Moon music video is coming soon. If you don't want to lose it, so you can just subscribe on my channel. Also, check my other quick tutorials about fixing the selection problem and making quick pillows. The music in this video is part of my upcoming album.